Hey,
We are
Felix.
recorded. Hey, Victor, how are you?
Good, thanks. What about you?
Really good. Everything nice, everything calm. Normally my goal was yesterday to sleep the whole day long, but I didn't arrive.
Yeah, I took the day off yesterday. I was too tired from last week. Organizing Idea Fest was exhausting.
Yeah, it was a hell of work. But the good point, each time when we do after town hall or swarm session now, we will say, oh, so easy, so calm. Because now we're related to always to events, so Idea Fest, I mean.
Yes.
So, by being exhausted for one event, we will be much more tranquil and calm for all the hours.
Yeah, much more prepared. I sent a message here in the Telegram group to say that we are here.
We still have 4 minutes. We take it far too serious, Victor. We are here already. We could even drink some coffee or...
And for me, it's too late to drink a coffee because when I drink coffee after lunch, I have trouble to sleep.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, Juliana.
Hi, Juliana.
I think your sound is off, Juli. Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Hey.
Hallihallo.
Hallihallo. Moin, moin.
How is everything? Good. Yeah, Felix, you almost are not visible because I mean
Exactly.
your view is visible, so it's
Exactly.
on purpose. It's on purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like this image. So you see me, but you can't see me. This is
You
nice.
see me? It's like the graue Eminenz now.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And how are you? How are you, Julie?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Had a busy day and just sent the last email like 5 minutes ago. It kept being here at my computer. Yeah.
Day job stops, day job, other day job starts.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, we know why we are here, so that's good. That's okay.
Do we?
I mean, the higher purpose, of course, for now, but hopefully we get a better understanding. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, everybody. Some familiar faces.
Yeah. Hey, David, you have been in my room. You have been in my room.
You were there yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. How did the rest of the session go? I was jumping between some of the rooms.
No, it was good. It was good. I mean, yeah, I think it was a good dynamic. I felt a good dynamic. There were a lot of questions and yeah, I thought it was good.
Good. And did you get what you needed to or you were looking for from the session?
Oh, it's always good to hear people asking questions. I think that was the most valuable part. Even that dynamic, I can imagine being implemented in earlier stages throughout the process of defining and refining your proposal, because it just helps you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. But I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The technically, this is when the meeting is supposed to start. We don't quite have everybody here. But let's go ahead, as soon as Victor gets back, just do a check-in round. So everybody gets a chance to say how they're doing and where they're doing and all that kind of thing. Here's Victor back. So for example, I'm John Buck, and I should change my name on here from GovernanceAlive, which I'll do in a second. But I'm in a garage in my family's house, or my daughter's house in Hawaii, where we're visiting right now. And I'm here so that I don't bother the rest of the household. So welcome from a garage in Hawaii. And Pete, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Pete Oliver Kruger. I am not in Hawaii, so that's a downside right there. But I am not in a garage, so that's a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, so I'm here with GovernanceAlive, and I'll be like taking notes as we go along today. It's good to see some familiar faces.
Great. Let's go around my screen as I see it. Victor, how are you doing? Where are you doing?
Hi, everyone. I'm Victor Corsino, speaking from Rio, Brazil, and really happy to be here.
Great, thank you. Felix.
I'm Felix, the happy one, sitting in a rainy day in the French Pyrenees.
Welcome. Julianne.
So, hi everyone, my name is Juliane Montag and I'm calling in from Düsseldorf, Germany. And I'm fine.
Good, welcome. Loris.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauris, so from Baltics, Latvia. I'm sitting in camper because we are on a family trip, so somewhere close to the sea. So yeah, so hopefully the internet will be good, but yeah, I'm doing well.
Thank you, David.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is David Taylor. I'm not anywhere exotic, and actually most of those places that you guys are, I would rather be right now. I'm about 20 miles outside of London, but my role is head of marketing at the Cardano Foundation. So pleased to be joining you guys, expanding my knowledge of the ecosystem, getting to know community, getting to know some of the challenges, which I think we'll probably touch on at some stage, but nice to be here.
Thank you, and Dor.
Hey everybody, calling in from Berkeley, California. Feeling pretty good, still getting caffeinated.
You feeling better than you were yesterday, Dor?
Little by little, yeah.
Long may that continue.
Great, welcome everybody. I want to make sure everybody has a copy of the agenda. And so the thing that I just put in the chat is a copy of the agenda. And I will also, while you're getting there, help out by doing a screen share. And so just aiming at taking care of administrative matters here. There is a doodle poll, and the doodle poll is over here. And we have a few people who have not filled out the doodle poll yet. We're trying to figure out when is the best time to have the next meeting. It's intended, we had intended 2 hours today, just because I think we've got a lot to cover, and it would be great to have 2 hours the next time. Despite what some of these time frames say up there, it looks like we're zeroing in on the 29th as or Thursdays is the best time, although Loris, I'm concerned about your yellow mark there, whether you can actually make it or not. So, but if we could, before we get into that, if Dor and Felix and David, if you could drop in your doodle intentions,
I dropped mine. I submitted mine a few minutes ago.
Okay, then I suspect that I need to do a screen refresh, which it doesn't look like it wants to let me do. So let me go over here to the document itself and click on this, and we'll see what we have. And while that's coming online, does anybody have any particular announcements they need to be making? The agenda today is set up with just a quick introduction by Dor, and then us spending a lot of our time trying to get kind of on the same page with each other. And we have the steps of trying to do what I call picture forming, but just getting our objectives all on the same chart on a Miro board, and then figuring out not necessarily what's the most popular, but what's the most important things that we should be focusing on, and then getting really specific, like who's going to do what to whom and with what help type decisions, so that we can be done within an hour and a half. We will also we've got this form to fill out here with so that we're formally measuring all this stuff. Any things that you want changed on the agenda? Any quibbles? Whatever, is everybody comfortable with them? And nobody is saying anything, so I'm assuming we have consent to the agenda. Why don't we go ahead, Dor, and I'll hit the doodle poll later, I think. Let me see what the condition of it is.
Okay, so should I?
Yeah, let me. I gave totally contradictory requests just then. It is not showing up, Dor, so I'm puzzled by that.
Do you see the top one? There's a door.
Okay, it's up there. Got it. So it looks like the only thing that we all have in common is this Thursday with some question marks. Let me ask Felix and David, does Thursday the 29th work for you?
Yeah, I filled it in, and I think Thursday was, fine for me.
Okay, and what about you, Felix?
Yep, would be fine for me.
Okay, so let me do a real quick check. You have a maybe down there, Dor. Can you?
I can move a meeting.
Okay, what about you, Pete?
I can do that.
Okay, and Loris, what about you?
Yeah, I can manage.
Okay, all right. So we have a date. The next meeting will be on the 29th. And let's go back here. To the agenda, and Dor, we have a definition of the Catalyst Circle. So I'll get off the screen share and let you take it.
Okay, great. All right. nice to see us all in a room like this. I think that probably most of you, just because you've went through the election process, maybe David, I think the only person I'm not sure if he actually seen the presentation of the definition is David. So David, would you benefit from a bit of an overview?
Yeah, that would be super useful.
Okay. Okay, so I'll quickly run through it, and I'll spice it up a bit with my own kind of interpretation. And let's see, just to keep it interesting. Let me open my. Okay, so on a pure definition, okay, it's a human sensor array. Okay, it's like we're a group of sensors. Each of us represent a functional group in Catalyst. And the intention is that we're aware of what's going on in our domain. You know, what's going on in, like, for me, like, how is IOHK feeling, feeling about the process. I think for each one of you the same, like, and the idea is that we detect and discuss concerns, objections, and opportunities that arise within the Catalyst ecosystem. And we output together a transparent view into how does each one of those functional parts, like what's the hopes, wants, needs, concerns of everybody who's involved. And then there's a secondary responsibility to define the election process for the next Catalyst Circle that would launch in approximately 3 months from now. And, you know, I think it's good to say it's an experiment, it's in its evolution, it's putting a line in the sand and saying, like, hell yeah, we're going to start to work together and coordinate, even though it's not perfect. And we turn this into a learning experience for us all. And to iterate this, the functionality and definition of this group over time. So the main things we want to do is communicate with each other and have a place, a recurrent place for us to do so. To provide heads up when any red lines are crossed within a certain group, suggest improvements on plans and processes that shape Project Catalyst, and define the election process for the next circle, how we want it to look like, and basically define it in even as in terms of a protocol. One thing I want to say about it is I think the third one is actually much more potent than we can imagine, okay? Because Catalyst Circle, it's not just a sensor array, it's also a catalyst in itself. It's a catalyzer. And the kinds of plans and improvements and processes that we're going to suggest here, I think if we have good discussions, if we communicate them well outside, we can mobilize thousands of people to go ahead and build them, because we have a treasury that's controlling millions of dollars worth of ADA that are distributed every quarter, and they're like dedicated challenges to execute plans and processes. So I think even now, in the current set of us, where we could be amazingly powerful if only we, you know. But that is in proportion to how much, you know, our positions, our opinions are legitimate in the view of the community. So I think that's basically it. I don't want to go into too much to these functions, right? John, tell me, because we can stop here now with the goals and maybe move on and maybe cover functions maybe a bit later. What do you think?
Let's see if anybody has any questions or comments.
No questions, but it's useful to have that overview. So thank you, Dov.
Great. Okay. And David, I will share with you more, like maybe Pete, maybe you can share with David some of the documents we had about the circle definition, etc., because you can get a much more detailed perspective.
One thing you might want to do, Dor, that maybe I should have done is to put the link to the slides in there in the agenda for David or anybody to get hold of.
I'll share that on the chat.
Okay. Great. Okay, we are doing well in time. We've accepted the agenda, so unless anybody else has anything that they want put in here, I think we could go ahead and start, go over to the Miro board. That makes sense, Pete? Checking in with you, Pete. You're muted. You are muted.
There we go. Now it's off. Yeah, that makes sense. Miro board is up and ready. I'll paste a link into the chat.
Okay. And so I would propose that we all go on over to the Miro board right now. What we'll be doing is we'll be asking for everybody to summarize the objectives that of the group that you're coming from over the next 3 months. It could be longer, but you know, if you the next 3 months would be good as a start. And the objectives should relate directly or indirectly to the Catalyst Circle. So if you've been trying to get an overview, then that would certainly be related to the Catalyst Circle. If there are things or objectives that the Catalyst Circle might be able to weigh in on, or things you're trying to accomplish, that would be something you would put down. So if in doubt, put it in. And the way, Pete, you want to explain how the Miro board is set up?
All right, off. Yeah, so the Miro board is set up just very simply. You can grab any sticky note that's on there and double click on it to add in. Please enter in your name so we can know sort of who to reference it from, or if you want to enter in the name of the group that you are representing, we can do that as well. If you need any more sticky notes, you can double click anywhere. Does that work? No, sorry, that's the other software. There's a item over to the left. I can do a screen share here. I guess let me do a quick check. If anybody needs additional help in running a Miro board, I know a lot of you have using them already. So there's a little icon over here to the left for sticky notes. If you need to add any more space, go ahead and add it. But here is our board, and I'll leave a little bit more space at the bottom if anybody wants to add anything to it.
They can just put it to the right of the box. And what we'll do is just start putting down things that your group is trying to get done over in the near term. And once we get those up, then we might be, and actually at any time, you can be kind of moving your sticky note over to somebody else's who looks to be somewhat similar, so that we start coming up with some groupings.
Looks like we have a hand up from Victor.
Yep, I've got a question here. How specific do we need to be in these objectives? And is there space to update them in the next meeting? Because I'd
Absolutely.
like to receive feedback from the CAs, for example, to know what to include here, because I have some ideas, but I'd like more voices participating on this.
We should be able to go back to this board and update it. It's our kind of view of the collective system that we're all dealing with. We're all part of an ecosystem. And so if it makes sense to be very specific and it's something you want to get done next week, put that down. If it's a more general one, you know, we want to make apple pie less expensive, then, you know, put that down. It's whatever makes sense to you. And it can be very specific or it can be very general.
Okay.
Just what's kind of what's up for you right now. What's present in your mind as you think of your group.
And I just turned off the auto arrange, so if you want to move things around and group them, you can move the stickies now.
So Pete, should they be putting them in the box itself, or do they move them off to the right-hand side?
Right there in the box, right there in the stickies, they can just edit the stickies in place.
Okay, and then can they move them around?
They can move them around now.
Okay, could we make the box a little bit bigger so that there's a little bit more space to play with?
Already done. Somebody's already been on top of that. We got a lot more space to work with.
Okay. sort of a couple minutes heads up here, we could sort of wrap up this part of it in the next couple minutes. You can have more time if you want. But do feel free, as we're getting the initial stuff down, to move your objectives next to, cluster the objectives. So if you see that one of yours looks like what somebody else has, then just move your slip of paper over next to them. And Pete, I'm having trouble just like picking up any one of the papers here and moving them. Should I be able to move them? Okay, I'm able to move it now.
Sorry, I was totally talking on mute again. But I'm glad you got moving.
Yeah, I got a second. Everybody's being very orderly. So. Okay, take a minute to wrap up, and we'll ask for some verbal summaries of what you've got up here, and give folks a chance to to comment.
Does Felix get extra credit for doing workflow over there?
I'm impressed. I think that's amazing. So we'll hear about it in a moment. His reward is going to be able to speak first. It's very interesting that very few people chose the dark purple. Does anybody need more like just self-time? You can keep working, but you need more time to be writing down your objectives. Okay, Felix, can you tell us about this wonderful diagram with arrows and all that over here on the right?
Come on, these are some stickies. It's not a diagram.
Oh, okay. your thing with arrows.
I think just I had a call with not a call, a chat with Victor already about this topic. We said that we don't want to represent our own objectives because we have nothing more to do here than to represent a certain group. So at the very first, when we want to come up with objectives, that these objectives have to be formulated, ideated, and defined by maybe some people more than just by a single person.
Mm-hmm. Okay, could you just give a brief summary as to what the arrows mean in your diagram here?
So at first that I will try just already to offer a communication stage. So to the tool makers and maintainers, to get their input, to include them also in this process, and to documentate it, and then bring it into the circle.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you think that one thing we ought to be doing is to be going out to the community at large and getting their thoughts in. Did I get you?
This is what I'm gonna do, yes.
Okay, great. And let's see, next, why don't we go to Julianne?
Yeah,
Tell us about what you've put down.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, Yeah, and I talked with Felix about that. We had kind of the same thought, because one thing is, and I listed very high level, trying to think about the different processes a funded proposer would have gone through and is already or is still in. So there are many processes and different dimension of each processes may be like tangible in procedure and how to proceed and how rules are, but also this intangible relation or even how you act. So there are different layers. And I would rather come up with a suggestion of trying to give some structure, but then bring that structure to my group and get an insight, a really more structured insight, rather than talking randomly to certain people, trying to capture everybody who wants to give an opinion on that, and then come back to really have a say on what's the most pressing for my group. So I could have an opinion, but this not necessarily would represent the group.
And so when you have different phases down here, just say a little bit about the different phases.
Yeah. I was just actually I ordered one, but if you start with, you could even start with onboarding to Catalyst, because as a funded proposer you have gone through that, so this is missing. I would add it. Then you go to the proposing phase, then you would go to the evaluation phase, the voting phase, and with that actually you end up being in the cohort, right? So within the cohort there's certain things around how we are going to be enabled. I mean, it is the thing that we proposing something to do to help adoption or help the challenge we addressed, we wanted to address with the proposal. But still there is something around this cohort that could maybe be potentialized, and maybe something even that has to do with a proper organization of the proposing teams, with that KPI reporting that comes with being a funded proposal. And there is, I think there are opportunities in terms of linking it back to the overarching results, to the proper challenge, as well as to the proper project or proposal. And I think to really mark the footprint of the teams that deliver on certain quality their proposals, I think there is a need to just to review, to see the track record more transparently. So yeah, this would come to my mind from the conversations I had, what I heard so far, and from the logic in terms of the process.
I'm hearing in summary that there's several phases of the whole funded proposal process that could be better organized, and getting them better organized is kind of an objective.
Yeah, actually the objective could be looking at the different phases within the whole process a funded proposer would go through, slice them down and really look into each and everything, and look what is the most pressing, or what is the most impactful in terms of the overarching goal of this circle or Catalyst project itself.
Great, thank you. Let's go to Loris next.
Okay. Yes, so I'm representing the SPO, so this is again like a separate group, because most of the SPOs who are super active, they are already in either some toolmaker groups, or they already, having some proposals already funded, or, they already are in this circle. And so that's why, we had a discussion meeting with SPOs, and what I felt that basically from SPO standpoint, my goal, it means, would be like build the communication and just create awareness about, this, because there are a lot of people who don't know yet. So they're like pure SPOs running their server, but we would love to them to be engaged more in the Cardano ecosystem, and therefore build more like knowledge about what's happening, get them the information, what's the opportunity, what you can do, explain that. So it's more like communication, training, education, awareness. So this is where we see that currently we not lacking, but basically we see an opportunity. As I mentioned, although active SPOs already are in many other groups represented already.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I'm focusing now, and yeah, of course. So that it means like discussions, open discussions with SPOs, and of course getting their feedback on some kind of matters which maybe will be popping up here. So have their feedback and come back to you, so we can discuss and clear if it's some kind of worrisome, some kind of thing which we have to discuss. Yeah, so like two-way communication. So that's also one of the focuses.
Yeah, so improving two-way communication, training, resources or awareness rather, and feedback is the themes I heard there. Did I get you?
Yes.
Great, thank you. David.
Hi, yeah, I think I'm sort of nodding along for a lot of this because it's sort of in line with what I'm thinking, but with regards to the 4 specific cases that I've put down, increase in quality of voting and proposals in Catalyst, supportive libraries and use cases, because almost as you guys are already saying, the more we can share the success stories and the best ways of doing things, the better hope future proposals have. Aligning and improving on the processes as they exist now, and as they should be in the future, and providing that feedback loop. So I think one of the key goals for me is being able to provide that feedback and being able to do so in a timely manner, so that people aren't getting too frustrated with any inactivity. And then ongoing assistance and frameworks. So what is it that's being done? What could be improved? How can it be improved? And all of those good things. So I think we're all singing from the same hymn sheet on this one.
Okay. Thank you. Dor.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, let's look at so this is basically our goals for the coming quarter. So, and it's kind of organized us in priority. So the very first thing is voter engagement. We want to get to 50% of ADA holders participating in voting, engaged in decentralized governance. The main thing we're doing is we're working on the technology to make voting even more simple and easy. Right now, the hot potato that we're dealing with is basically right now, in order to participate in voting, you need to participate in two separate sessions. You need to register to vote, and then you need to vote. So we're now building like additional technology that would enable registration and voting to happen in one session, and potentially even adding delegation. So people who are actually not that engaged with voting, don't want to review like a lot of proposals, can just like delegate to someone who is interested and they trust, and they can do it just like one time, and and they get incentivized to do this. So that's mainly that's really like our focus. The second thing is scaling up voting. So we're ramping up all our capabilities, ability to process, to work with something like 100. Our target is to have 100,000 unique voters. Also really ramp up. We have, I can't talk about it too much in details, but there's like a bunch of strengthens in the security of voting to make it more resilient to different types of attacks, and better monitoring. And specifically, like one of the main things we want to add is that each user in the app, in the voting app, can actually track kind of like the life cycle of its votes and be able to see that it's like indeed been registered correctly on the blockchain. Even as we're starting to add voting privacy. Okay, so it's going to be like your vote is private, but you can validate that your own vote has been cast, using some cryptographic magic. Another thing that we're actually close to launch is ability to prove the integrity of the vote. So basically, you can take the Ermengander blockchain, and you can kind of like run the tally yourself, and you can prove that the tally we did internally is legit. Okay, so you don't need to trust IOHK to make sure the voting is correct. So that's kind of like scaling up, or but I also call it like voting integrity. The next big thing is we're starting to prepare the ground for decentralized software updates. So it's like another leg in Voltaire. It's not strictly Catalyst, but it will be piloted in Catalyst. Changing the protocol parameters, deciding on hard forks for the network, approving the formal like funding transfers, okay, the on-chain event of like the actual transfers of funds, to proposals, the DCF vote, all sorts of these type of big decisions that are they're not about the funding, they're actually about the protocol. So we're now in the process of figuring out what we want to pilot. So we'll start with some low risk, but like interesting but low risk things to test the social process behind it, while in the background we're ramping up a whole team to build this, including formal verification process around it to make sure that it's safe, because we don't want to get captured or hacked when it comes to protocol updates. So that's like a bit more of a long-term thing. So we're just preparing the ground for it. Next thing is we want to start to work with the funded proposals to pilot acceleration programs. So like looking at different suppliers that have experience and also kind of alignment, right, with our culture, values, vision, and that can actually give like funded proposals all that they need, from like structured advice to networking to mentorship to help them. And we're definitely gonna I think we're definitely gonna offer the funded proposals at least one option of how they can be accelerated. Hopefully, maybe even like 3 or 4. And depends how quickly we can negotiate that and get it moving. But the idea, it will be like optional, like people could choose, can opt into this kind of process. So the extend Catalyst decision-making scope. So that's specifically doing a pilot. And one of the things we're thinking about doing probably for Fund 7 is ask for consent for the funding. So basically, like, the community made its choices. Some part of the community made its choices and decided to fund this and these projects. But then there's the question of like this decision that was made, okay, and which basically triggers a transfer of funds from the treasury to the proposals. Do we as a community agree? Okay, so it's basically consent to the process itself. It's also like a safety mechanism, right? Like in case if the process gets captured, or like somehow there's like a small group that takes over, but it's really not aligned with what the Cardano community at large wants, people can just say, nope, we're not going to do that, and stop that from happening. And sorry, two more. Okay, so two more things. I'll do it really quickly. So one is dependable fund timeline. Okay, just setting up more mechanisms to make sure that things happen on time. And then the last one is we're really ramping up the team. We're hiring at least I think like somewhere between 10 to 15 more staff members to ramp up to really create a Voltaire team that really takes care of the entire scope of the project and being more well-resourced. So that's me.
Great, thank you. Then thanks, Pete, for all the notes you're taking of these different initiatives that DOR has, as well as the other notes. Great, and then finally, Victor.
Yeah. Okay, so I could have been very general here. You just say improve the CA and VCA processes, but I wrote down some details here, which are, first one is to increase the number of CAs and especially VCAs. For the CAs process, we are still struggling to have at least 3 people assessing each proposal. And for the VCAs, we have usually around 20 VCAs to review thousands of assessments, which is not ideal. We need to improve the CA's assessment quality because, as I mentioned, sometimes we only have 3, and one of them is deleted in the review process. So we have to rely on the opinion of only 2 people. Another one is to discuss the requirements that someone needs to be a CA or VCA, because today anyone can be a CA and a VCA. We don't know if this is something that we want to change. We want to train them. We want to have some kind of background specialization or something like that. Just bring the discussion. Also include other players in the assessment and review phases. We have heard more than once and twice that we need to hear the proposers about this, because sometimes they don't agree about the criteria. Some of them are not aware of the process or how they will be evaluated, and we think that this should be clearer, and we include them in these discussions as well. We need to identify and correct, if needed, possible biases in the VCA process. This is somehow related to a paper that DOR has shared in the CA's Discord group this weekend. We need to improve the rewarding system for CAs and VCAs. This is basically changing the CA's rewards to be related to quality instead of quantity, and also to better distribute the rewards between VCAs, because today a VCA that does a single review receives the same amount as another one that has made 1,000 reviews. I think that DOR has something up in his sleeve for this. I'm not sure, but yeah. So also test different approaches to evaluate the assessments besides the current one, to compare and see which one works better. Also discuss some possible changes in the process so the CAs can help the proposers along the way and not only at the end when they give a score. There is a way to do this, but there are no rewards involved in that, so people are not financially incentivized to do so. Maybe there could be a better way. Also have an external or professional guidance on how to improve the system, because we are discussing amongst ourselves, but we don't have expertise in this kind of assessment processes. And last is to discuss about the objectivity versus subjectivity on the CA's assessments there has been some discussions about that. Should we have clear rules, or should we leave it loose, and because this could be a better representation of the voters in the next phase. So these are my current topics.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, everybody, that's that phase of it. Big stretch, take a breath, whatever. The next step here, get up and move around if you want. The next step here is to say, all right, this is what we're all doing as a catalyst circle. What's the most important 1 or 2 or 3 things we can be doing immediately over the next week or so, because when we get back together, we'll have more things to do. But what's the top thing we should be doing to get going? And so you can write it on the Miro board. Maybe, Pete, we could have a new section, or you can just say it verbally, or you can look at the notes that are on the notes document, kind of review those, and we'll try to catch what's the things that we want to do most. And we'll spend a few minutes doing that, and then try to get it to the point, whatever we develop, get it to the point where we can say who does what to whom and when over the next couple of weeks. So take just a moment to think about, all right, of all this, what can we do together? Can I support somebody else? Can we, what's the most important thing to do?
Can I add?
Please.
I do want to say that what we're doing right now is kind of a prioritization exercise, and I think part of doing such an exercise is also talking about what's the criteria. What makes something more urgent or a bigger opportunity for us to do right now. I know that in itself can be like a long process just to uncover those criteria. As a way of a shortcut, I want to offer in 2 minutes, like present a quick model as a quick guideline that we can work and iterate on. But I wonder if that now is a good time to present it, or
here's what I suggest, Doris, that we'll start with you, and you say, this is what I think we should do, and give the rationale for it. Okay, and do you want to do that verbally, or you want to write it out? How would you like to do it?
Well, I want to think about it for a few minutes.
Okay, great.
And then I can look at it through my lens and also say like what criteria I was using as I was looking.
Okay, take a few moments to think about it. I'm going to just go to the next person in the round here. Victor, do you want to start us out?
I also would like to think a bit about this.
Okay, great. Let's take a minute of silence. I'm timing us. Okay, that's a minute. Does anybody want more time before I start calling the next person?
I could use like 30 more seconds.
Okay, you got it. Okay, that's 40 seconds. I'd like to try going to
Okay.
that. You want more time, Dor? Go ahead if you want it.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's again, these things can take hours of discussion. Like obviously, what we're coming out with, yeah, exactly. What we're coming out here is a draft so we can keep moving forward. So I'm just gonna go and say my piece.
Okay, so we'll take notes as you talk.
Okay, so quick. Okay, my framework when I think about these things is I'm trying to think about legitimacy. Okay, what's the most highest impact thing that makes our system more legitimate? Okay, so firstly, the legitimacy needs to be internally in the eyes of the Cardano community at large. Following that, like, you know, the entire world, okay, that we can be a viable alternative. This legitimacy has three main components. The first one is ROI. Basically, you know, are we solving problems? Are we solving the big challenges that are put in? Are we actually addressing them effectively? Okay, and that includes the quality of proposals, the quality of assessment, the quality of execution. That determines that. The second one is the UX, the experience, the governance experience. Are we engaging voters, and are we attracting actually the brightest and kindest people to our ecosystem? Are we a better alternative rather than competitors? And the third one is decentralization. So basically, is the power control distributed among many, or just like centralized by a few actors or a few organizations? So this is my perspective. I couldn't run it like a detailed like metrics analysis like about everything that people said, but I would just listen to my intuition. I was just like looking at each one and like, does this feels like, you know, what are the things that really stood out to me that could have a like high impact, low hanging fruits? And so for me, the ones I came up with is Catalyst onboarding. So onboarding, I think onboarding people in Catalyst could increase the UX, right? And also the impact. Actually works on all the three, right? It decentralizes, add more actors. It would increase the experience, and it would increase the ROI because there will be more quality people, right? That previously were not onboarded. The second one is SPO engagement, because I think that's that would really legitimize the process really dramatically. The third is increasing proposal quality, again, towards the ROI. Next is the track record, which is you got to have a North Star. Like I think if you want to get a good ROI, you gotta track things, learn to track things effectively, and create a culture of accountability. And I think lastly, more CAs and VCAs. I think that would again just increase our like assessment making capability.
And so Dor, my question is then, what specific thing do you want to see on the table in our next meeting on the 29th, and who would be responsible for doing it?
the best thing I can come up with is, I think we should outline some potential proposals to be made, like kind of like a call for proposals to the community, like saying like, here's the things we think would be the most impactful thing that we can engage right now, and people who generate effective proposals that are solving these issues, right? Like each one of these could be a question, right? Like people who are like formulating like the best proposals would get our like support, like our like sign of approval, something like that. We can think more about that, like what does it mean? Like, but like thinking about like kind of like endorsement, like our endorsement. Who could be endorsed by the circle? What do we endorse?
Who would be the lead to produce this outline? Do you have anybody in mind to propose to do it?
I would ask here who's excited about
yeah,
that.
you're ducking it now. Who do you think would be a good person to lead this? It can be in or outside this circle, but it would be best if you know, if it's mainly outside the circle, still somebody overseeing it.
It's a good question.
I can come back to you. Let me be thinking about it. Let me go to David next. David, what's your specific proposal of what we do have ready for the next meeting?
Before we wrap that up, so you saying, Dor, you gave a list of 5 things, and I missed what you gave for number 2 after Catalyst onboarding. You can either
SPO engagement.
SPO engagement. Thank you. All right. Sorry, David.
No
David,
problem.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, you know, not basing this on any particular matrices or anything like that, just instinctively what struck me when people were talking and through the Idea Fest that happened over the weekend, it's about what is the current process with regards to those that have been through it. So almost interviewing them to get an understanding of what, you know, what worked, what didn't work, and being able to outline it. Because when we've got an understanding of what the current pain points are, we know how to address them. And once we know how to address those pain points, all of these other things that most of us have mentioned as objectives, whether that's increasing the quality of voting and the number of proposals, all the way through to voter engagement, right? This is a way of engaging with people and showing, actually, look, this is the current process. We want to improve it. Help us to identify what those pain points are, and we can move on from there, because then the other sort of results come off the back of that.
So is it, you're saying that what we need to be focusing on is improving the onboarding?
Not necessarily just the onboarding, it's understanding the whole process. So what we can then do is, once that's mapped out, and I'm sure it's already documented somewhere, we can talk about specific parts of that user journey to use, or usability, as Dor's said, to say, actually, you know, ultimately we want to improve or increase the number of voters, increase what's going on activity-wise. We can only do that when we understand what the current flaws in the process or the current pain points are, is my opinion.
Okay, so it sounds like you would want to report next week about that, you know, how to focus in on that, and who would you have lead the process?
So to be frank, I don't know the ecosystem well enough to be able to say one specific person. I'm happy to act as a sideman for anybody who wanted to pick it up. I'm happy to, yeah, sort of throw my hat in the ring for that.
All right, thanks. Loris.
Yeah. So my objective, let's say, I don't know if it's the, you know, Catalyst Circle, you know, objective, but my objective is basically, yeah, establishing the two-way channel, which is, you know, getting the SPOs and getting them, you know, more information that's happening, and helping if there is, you know, somebody who needs help, then, you know, guiding them. to the right, I don't people or groups or whatever. But this is, from my side, what I see, where what I'm doing. So, but it's will be done by myself and my team basically.
So what I'm hearing you say is that getting the SPOs more informed is kind of like a subset of what David was saying. Am I getting you?
Yes, I suppose, yes. So some things in the engagement, but yeah, specific on the SPO side.
Okay, more engagement by the SPOs. All right. Would be a possible thing. And who would you have lead it if it were that focused? Who would you have lead it? Or do you have any thoughts about David's thing about, the lead for a process that's getting people to understand the process?
So I suppose I will do it myself.
Okay, so you're a possible lead on that. Okay, great. Thanks. Julianne, your thoughts?
Yeah, the first thing actually is coming in my mind, since there are so many things we need to do. I think I need to, I'm talking for my group, I need to go out and ask to support, because looping in some more people that are with me, undertaking this, where to focus on and grasp the needs of the group requires, and maybe can be leveraged onboarding maybe 1 or 2 more people. I don't know who they are, but that would be definitely one action I would take. And while you were launching this question, I was thinking about prioritizing, and had the chance of this 2 minutes more you gave us to really think about what is the most pressing that comes in my mind in terms of the different phases I just highlighted. And it was in proposing phase, the quality of the proposals; in the evaluation phase, the high risk of lacking of knowledge and criteria, and that matches perfectly to what Victor said. And in the voting phase, the highlighting quality related to project and challenge, addressing challenge, so the knowledge of it. So I just it made me focus a little bit, because it's so broad. So I might would emphasize in all 3 or one of those. I'm not sure yet. I need to design a questionnaire or somehow an approach to capture the input.
So you have you focused in on those improvements you want to make in your process, and you would want to actually go out to your community and say, which of these is the most important thing to improve right now?
Yeah, and also listening to everybody else. I mean, and looking at all the post-its. The other thing, and that is an understanding question. I understand that I need to pick an objective I want to prioritize on, or do we pick something that we jointly are focusing on? Because I can see a lot of overlaps in certain things. So wondering how,
if together we can be saying, for the whole ecosystem, this is what we need to really be focusing on, whether it's everybody goes and does this in their group, or it's the one thing, but something that's in common would be probably the most productive thing.
Okay, good. So yeah, good. So got it. Okay. So definitely, so voting or evaluation or quality, these are the things I think from the funded proposal perspective could be in place then.
Okay, and I'm hearing also the theme of getting people to understand the process.
Yeah, I totally can identify with David, actually. So
okay,
we can.
What is it? And it may be that we each need to go back and say, what is the most important thing you need to understand? Something like that.
For whom? For the funded proposers?
For the funded proposers, but while you were doing that, Loris would be going out and talking with the SPOs and saying, what is the most important thing you need to know? And that the Catalyst Circle is trying to get us to focus on what we need to be. That's what I'm seeing emerging. So it's,
yeah.
And so I'm guessing that you would be the person leading that for your group.
Yes, naturally I would do that. Yeah.
And do you have any ideas as to who in the circle could be overseeing the whole thing, making sure everybody's focusing on that, if that's what we're doing?
Okay, so you're saying like someone who is looking at all the streams from everybody?
It's going after everybody and saying, how are you coming? Sort of the Catalyst Circle czar for this project.
Oh, I don't know. This is hard to say.
Okay.
I would anybody trust in this circle and beyond. So I think, yeah.
So I'm going to be coming back and saying we need to select a person to be leading it for this coming 2 weeks, getting everybody to focus in on process. That's where I think we're headed. Let me go to Felix next.
Okay.
Do I have to say something?
You don't. You can pass if you want.
Ah, cool. So I pass.
Okay. Victor.
From my side, I think that most of the topics I pointed out earlier are from the CA's perspective. So I'd like to hear other voices as well to help to outline this point, because the CA exists to help the proposers and the voters. So we need to know what they need from us. And maybe I'd like to work with Julian on this to make some kind of questionnaire or something like that. It would be very nice if we had the representative of the voters here as well. But I think that's it, basically.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize this, Pete. What I'm hearing is the general theme is informing people about the process that we're in, what's the most important thing in each person's area to make sure that people understand about the process. And that we need to be, each person in their area needs to figure out and maybe check with their community, what's the most important thing that we need to be understanding about our process. So the theme of the week is, what's the most important thing we need to understand better? And if you could sort of, summarize that, good, thanks, Pete. And that each person is to do that in their area, or get together and collaborate, maybe with forms, or with some kind of assessment, or getting people organized in your area to focus on what you think is the most important thing. It's fine to be going ahead and taking leadership and saying, I think this is the most important thing. Who can help me explain this better to our group? So it doesn't have to be just saying, what do you think is the most important thing? And what we need then, let me just double check. With that summary, I want to elect somebody here who can be the person who checks with everybody to make sure that they're going to come up with a report next week about what they've focused in on and what they're doing about this area that's the most important thing for people to understand. So let me just go around and ask each person, can you consent to this? Are you comfortable with this as being specific enough so that we can also pick somebody who's going to be kind of overseeing what everybody's doing, following up? And let me start with you, Felix. Are you okay with this as this report that we're going to come up with next week as to what everybody needs to understand most? Is this clear enough for you for now?
It's clear, yes.
Okay, and are you okay with it being kind of the basis of our decision today?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Julianne. How about you? Do you feel okay about it?
Yeah, I feel okay about it. Yeah, I feel okay about it, but just to be clear, just to understand well, it is about the community getting understanding and like constantly or inputting their view on what we're trying to focus on within the circle from the funded proposer perspective.
From the funded proposer perspective, what is it the thing that they most need to know about the process
Exactly.
they're in? Yeah. And what can you be, can you even start some improvements in that in the next 2 weeks that you can report on?
Okay, okay, yeah, okay. So you're talking about their process. Okay, yeah, fine, yeah, okay.
Victor, are you okay with, sorry, the order would be Loris next.
Yeah, I suppose yes. If you have some kind of specific more, everybody knows what they have to do and they plan to do, and then you can check up and basically discuss this. I suppose yes.
And David, how about you?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. But Dor, you had your hand up a minute ago. Did you have a point that you were going to?
I didn't.
I'll wait my turn.
It's your turn.
Great. Well, my bad sense is tingling right now because I had the smell of lack of clarity and like analysis paralysis is like tingling in the back of my mind. Okay. I think that. So first of all, like, so you want us to go back to so like the action point is like to go back to our groups and ask what more information do you need in order to prioritize?
No, what is the explanation about our process that you most need? What's the point that you would most like to have clarified? And
what's our process?
It's the vote. For example, it's the proposer vote process or it's the SPO process. I think it's not the process of the circle process, but it's your view. I mean, I understand it that way.
Yes,
that's the thing. That's like it's not clear. I think the ask like what the decision is not clear at all.
Right.
Like I want us. Hold on. I want to raise a objection here.
Okay.
And say that I am not feel good about this decision unless it's less ambiguous. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I really think that while we're thinking about a deeper, like kind of like cohesion understanding process that can take like weeks and months, which is a good thing to do and like a good long-term strategy to maintain. I do think we want to. I would like us to come out with something like concrete and impactful, like to do right now. Even like pick one item that we do.
Right, Dor. So if I could come back to you, I hear you have an objection. I want to get to Victor first.
Yeah, actually, I would like to have more clarity about which process we are talking about, so I can say my opinion as well.
All right. So the Dor, let's go back to Dor's objection here. Each person has an area that they're working in. Dor, you're and it's whether it's SPOs or CAs, and the theme that I was hearing is that there needs to be clear explanations, not onboarding so much as clear explanations for everybody as to what's going on. So the output, the specific output next week would be a report that each person would provide, and they would talk about either that the community thinks that we need to clarify this process, which is so that's our priority, or you can go back to your community and say, it seems to me that this is the process, this is the part of our process that most needs to be clarified. And I would like to get people who can work with me to get that clarification out to everybody. Who will help me work with that? And then your report would be, okay, we identified, everybody seemed to be happy with what I proposed, and I got these volunteers together to try to make sure this is very clear to everybody. so that you're actually taking, so that the theme for the whole circle is figuring out what most needs to be clarified and coming back with a report saying this is the actions we've taken to make either identify what needs to be most clarified or to be starting to clarify the thing most needing clarification in our process. So the specific thing that we come up with is a report on that. And so it's either a report on having identified the area or actually taking action against that area. And Dor, does that meet your need for specificity?
No, that was like too many abstractions. It's not clear what's going on. Processes, the thing that's going on, reports, like.
Okay.
I don't like it. I think that I would like us to what I would propose. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit upset here, but I would love us to try to bring it to the ground. I know that we wanted like less than minutes to do like a bit of feedback about the process, etc. But what I would like you to propose is to take that each of us maybe takes like 5 minutes, tries to write the thing that he would like us to do, right, in a written form, in a very concrete way, and that we can kind of like see what each one had in mind and like pick one that's like very concrete, so we have a bit more clarity, because I feel like now it's very abstract and vague.
Okay, so my proposal, Dor, is not that we pick one of those things to focus on, but that each person picks out something in their area. And I was trying to get who is the overall lead on that. And I am volunteering to be the person who can call up each person if necessary and work out specifically what that is. So in other words, the leadership here can produce what you're looking for. And so Pete, if you could put this down specifically. Are you ready, Pete? Okay, so the proposal is that each person will produce a report next week that either identifies the highest priority in their area to be clarified for everybody, and or describes the actions taken to start clarifying that area. And the lead on this is proposed to be John, me, to make sure everybody has the support they need to produce that report. And then when we get back together, we'll be able to learn from each other about how did you go about picking out your area of specific that needs clarification, and what are you doing about it, so that we can learn from what each other has done. And so, Dor, does that meet your needs for clarity? Is it good enough for now?
So this item of priority, like, what level of specificity are we talking about? Could it be like people were saying, like what would be a concrete thing that would be a potential answer? Just to get a bit more.
Right. So Julianne had several steps in her process, and she was able to think through, okay, the part that most needs to be clarified is, and Julianne, you had said a couple of things, and I'm looking around for the words on that.
Yeah, it's, for example, quality proposal, or how I identified the high risk in the voting, in the evaluation phase for the proposer.
Okay, so the quality proposal, what needs to be clarified is how do you produce a quality proposal? Is that right?
For example.
And so some guidance, a checklist that said this is how you produce a quality proposal.
Yeah, but I think now I think this is going into another road as I thought initially, because when Dora mentioned that we think about legitimacy, we think about challenges, we're thinking about who is voting, and we're thinking about is distributed, and at the end, looking at that as the final goal, there is like, I need to go back in the process. So if I go back, for example, one trigger thing for me is quality, right? So I don't think the problem is solved identifying just a list of how to do a good quality proposal, because I even think we have that, right? I think it's not that we want here.
Okay. What is it that you would want to focus on then, on this quality area?
Is to get a different view on my counterparts, to just open up the thoughts on ways how we address that problem.
Okay.
Knowing that it is pressing.
Okay.
And it's
so
rather than a clarification, it's rather than gathering like different minds and if experiences that maybe give a whole different picture of the issue.
So your output then, your report would be what you're doing to try to gather minds together to get higher quality. You know, new views about how to get higher quality.
Yeah, because at the end it is like, if the goal is like suggesting changes on processes or plans or things that are already in place, but the lack of whatever X things to get them solved, right? So or get them improved at least.
Okay. So your specific report would be, this is what I did to try to get a new viewpoint on quality.
Yeah, but actually at the in the first place, I was thinking about imagining myself the whole process, and first of all, identify the first layer of issues I might want to make a deep dive into what we're talking right now.
Okay. All right. So for you, then your first step would be to make a list of issues and then decide which one you wanted to do a deep dive on.
Yeah, and this is something I really think also, like this dynamic, how we work together. I suppose this is going to get more involved, that we talk to each other, since we have these overlapping issues right now. So the thing is that I think even in the conversation and prioritizing one common thing is I think it's a good thing, because we want to get like high impact, low hanging fruits. Yes. But we also need like the short, the mid and the long term plan, like kind of roadmap. So
we're trying to do something that we can do something with right now, something that we can produce in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't know if this producing something for producing it in 2 weeks, is this overarching the spirit of the circle? I don't know. I don't know.
Right. We're wanting, even if it's a report on progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get.
And someone volunteered to work with you. Was it Victor?
Yeah.
Who volunteered? Yeah.
Yeah, it was me.
So would you, the two of you, fruitfully get together to focus on something? Would that be helpful?
I think in terms of leveraging how we wanna do it, and if we see common points to work on, obviously. I mean, yeah.
Do you want to work with Victor then on a common report?
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Okay. And the report would be something about improving the process, and the theme we've come across is clarifying for people a key part of the process?
I don't think it's a clarification.
Okay.
I think it's a thermometer, and look what comes out there. It's not about we are not going to educate anybody. We are not going to tell anybody this is the way to do it. It's rather than, I see this responsibility a lot in terms of listening to people, summing it up, question again. And I think this mechanisms on listening to my group is essential to the work or to the input that I can bring to the table and share with the other group.
Okay. So your report would be, what is the view of your group on how best, where can you get the best leverage in improving your process?
I don't even get maybe on that, because if this would be the output, I would assume having a questionnaire in place that that my group is able to judge that. And therefore I need criteria. So I don't think I get to that point.
Okay. What point do you think you could get to?
Yeah, I think, I assume, because I don't know, I assume that it could be fragmenting each process and trying to address certain questions to each process and bring a bunch of issues to the table.
To this table or to the table?
Yeah, of course, no, to the circle. Yeah.
Okay.
As a first result.
And Felix, let me check with you. Are you clear about what you might do?
To be honest, I see a lot of chaos.
Okay. What would your proposal be then, having heard everything?
I will just listen in until a certain point of better clarification.
Okay. You had a nice diagram. Was that diagram something that you could execute in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, for sure, and I will. But already here in this group, I think for me, it feels a little weird how we act right now.
Okay. So what would make it less weird for you?
Just Door, he raised his hand already since 5 minutes. Go ahead.
I know, but I'm trying to make sure that we hear from the spectrum of people.
I even think the idea of Door now, taking a step back, taking 5 minutes, and everybody gets a statement on the Miro. I like that idea, because it just like gives you a distance to what we're talking or what conversation we are in now, and maybe holds us back as a group of people, rather than being like being asked one or the other. And I think we are now, I think I'm alone. I think I'm alone. I have the feeling of not being in a group.
No, Victor, you need to go. Is that right?
My other meeting is delayed. I can stay here for a few more minutes.
Okay. All right. So Dora, I'm ready to try your suggestion of everybody taking 5 minutes to write things down. Is that what you had your hand up about? Did you have a different thought?
I had a whole speech, but
shall
look,
we try
I mean, hold on. How about we do both? Okay, I want to make a little speech and then we can take 5 minutes.
Okay.
I do want to say that, you know, we're navigating a very complex system, right? There's like a lot of ambiguity. It's not clear, you know, what should be like top priority. It's not clear, like, where you should be leading and where you should be like representing and like kind of like listening to others and then lead. There's like a lot of fear and uncertainty, and it's because we're dealing with really complicated issues, okay? And you took on yourself, like each one here in the room, you took on yourself like pretty big responsibility. And I really think that the solution, okay, to address this is to lead, is to dare, is to realize that there isn't going to be like an obvious good decision. You know, we're all making our best guesses about how to move forward, because if we try to be certain about every single choice and move we make, we will be like stuck in analysis paralysis, where actually we should be moving and growing and trying and maybe failing, but learning. And I want to encourage like each and every one of you to acknowledge the fact that yeah, you've been selected. You know, you've been selected to lead. You've been selected to decide. Part of it is like consulting. You know, consulting with your community, but come from a leadership perspective. You know, come from like have your position and opinion. Give people a chance to react to your pushing things forward energy, and give them an opportunity to give you this momentum. Don't wait for them to tell you what to do. So that's one important thing I want to say. I think a second important thing is I do think that having a good problem statement, like saying, like forcing ourselves to focus and saying, like, for each one of us, okay, what's like the biggest, like, if we only had to do one thing, okay, in the next 3 months, okay, one initiative that we take a deep dive in and solve together. If we had to pick one thing, you know, for our community, what would that be? Like having an answer to that, I think would be really helpful, because it would focus us, and 3 months is not a long time, and at least it would help us, give us a direction and clarity, in a way that after 3 months of working together, we can achieve specific outcomes. That's my spiel. And
Loris has his hand up, so I'll come back to you in just a second.
Yeah, so I think Dora already covered some kind of thing. So I see that, you know, we came here with our hot potatoes. Basically, we put it in one pile. But, you know, it's hard to choose, you know, because, for example, I don't know a lot of things you guys are doing, and I don't see, you know, those issues. So therefore, you know, for me, it's really hard to evaluate, you know, what's the important thing. So I know that from my part, SPO part, I know that's what's important, and I can really, you know, focus like to do those things, which I know I'm familiar with. I'm super happy to help somebody if our, you know, goals overlap. And also I see that, you know, currently we are like a fresh circle. We don't know much, at least I don't know much, you know, what happens, you know, in each of these areas, which is the most, you know, important things there. So therefore, for me, it's like really quite hard to pick up one issue. And at the same time, I know that maybe, you know, what I want to achieve, it's not, you know, high priority issue for you guys. So it's like, okay, so what will we pick? You know, do I pick something which I don't understand? What's the issue there? So I have to involve a lot of time and figure out what's happening there. It's really hard to do now. It's like, okay, so that's just what my feeling, you know, what's happening there, and like gives some kind of confusion. Okay, so what will be the one goal? It's really hard to establish that. My suggestion would be, you know, okay, you know, we can discuss maybe next time or whatever, you know, what are thoughts, what's happening, and just, you know, give some kind of idea what's happening in each group, and then we can, you know, maybe see some correlation with what happens in our group and find, you know, something together which we can, you know, work together, all of us. Meanwhile, doing necessary things in our circles with what we need. You know, for me, it's clear goals, what I have to do. We already did some kind of group meeting and discussions. What's, you know, what's going on, and these were the points, you know, which I found in my group. So that's I will be focusing definitely on that. happy, to help somebody, if something overlaps, or, if needs some kind of help. I'm really, to learn and, get into those tiny details and help also that. So, but it's really hard, for my side at least, to jump in the problem which I don't really understand and say, yes, let's do this.
Victor, thank you, Lars.
Yeah, I think that to choose a problem to solve in the first meeting is a little bit difficult. First of all, because I think none of us sees the full picture of Catalyst. We need the inputs from other groups to better understand it. I don't think we are going to solve anything. I think we are going to improve things. We're not going to solve anything in 3 months. And I think that we should take some time to make the process clear, as you mentioned, John, for ourselves here first. We should talk amongst ourselves to have this clarity. And then when we have a clarity about the problem, we might choose some topics to work on, maybe next week or in 2 weeks when we have our next meeting, because this decision, what we are going to do in the next 3 or 2.5 months, is probably the most important we are going to do here. And I don't think it should be rushed. We should not do it right now.
So what is your suggestion, that we pause here and then gather in 2 weeks, or what would we be doing in the meanwhile? What process would you suggest?
I think I would suggest a mix of the things that were suggested here. We should go back to our own groups, ask for clarification, ask for problems that they see in the process, ask for them to rank these problems if we can, and come up here with the best we can the next week. It's very hard to set expectations. I mean, clear expectations. We will try to do our best, I think, but to have something clearly outlined is quite difficult, I guess.
Okay. Okay, so I'm seeing some energy around that, Victor. So if we could record this, then Pete did, and my impression, I could use some help with this, Felix. It looks like that's what you were outlining. So what I'm hearing from Victor proposing is that we go back to our various communities, ask what problems they see, and ask them to rank the problems so that we can come up with, Victor says the other meeting was just canceled. Okay. That we rank the problems and bring that list of problems and the rank of the problems back to the next meeting. Is that what you're proposing?
Yes, to create awareness about the process and the problems, then we can discuss them together.
Okay, so if I'm not sure I got it right, got you then. What I heard you say was, go back to each group and ask what problems do you see? And 2, ask them to rank those problems so that we see what each group thinks is the most pressing problem to address.
Yeah, I think so. But as I mentioned earlier, I would also like to have another perspectives. For example, for my group, for the CAs, I'd like to hear about the voters and the proposers about my problem, my process. Sorry. So in my case, my specific case, it would be 2 things. The first one would be this interaction with these other 2 groups at least, and also a discussion inside my own group.
Okay.
I don't know if that's too challenging for 2 weeks.
No, it is. So I just want to check here and see what Pete has written down. Go back to your own groups, ask for clarification, ask for problems in their process, ask for a ranking, if we can, and come back having something, but having something outlined would be difficult. So the proposal is, as I'm understanding it, is to list the problems that you see, rank the problems, and then the third thing I didn't quite get. If you could repeat it, I'd appreciate it.
I think the third thing would be specific to my case, to get feedback from other groups about my own process, my group's process.
Okay. So then the proposal is, at a minimum, list the problems that you see, rank the problems, and then there may be other things that you want to report on, like getting feedback from your own customers. Is that,
Yeah,
did I get you there? So it's really a three-part thing. So it's the problems that you see, rank the problems, and other things.
Yeah, other things is a bit loose, but
just please let's not call them customers.
Okay, the people that you're working with.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
colleagues.
it's for example, like it makes total sense for Victor and me to team up on that, because for us, proposer, it's a high risk if we only have two community advisor voting on our proposals. So having the proposer view on the process of Victor's group is essential to me and to him. So this could be as specific as possible. Let's pick my group as your input to the process, because anyway, I'm going to, yeah, we can include that in the questionnaire as well. No.
I'm gonna team up there as well.
Okay, cool.
Because maintainers, tool makers, two of the best tool makers are sitting in the rooms. Giuliano for Jimma Labs, Victor with the voting tool. I mean,
so I have here a tentative proposal, and I'm going to make it be a little bit larger and bold it. So this is what I'm proposing that we consent to right now. That we list the problems, rank the problems, find out other information as appropriate.
I think the third item, if I understood it correctly, is like get feedback from the different groups about, like have a collective awareness exercise where we all share the problems and we give each other feedback about it in terms of, let's collaborate together to solve this. This would be awesome.
Okay, so help me with the wording here.
We will meet,
share our feedback with each other.
Bring back our problem statements to the circle. Okay, and present them and offer our collaboration. And when there's problem statements we think we can bring value to solve together.
Did I get you there?
And I would put, like, by the way, if I want to add a little thing there and say, like, all the problems, like, I think like each one of us, we should limit how many problems we bring. Like, I think limiting the number to, I would say ideally to 2. Okay, maybe 1 is a bit too harsh, but like I think 2. Like each one can bring like maybe 2 problem statements, and just to give us a little constraint. And I would say that all these problem statements go into our kind of collective, like a backlog that we create. So we have an open, accessible backlog where the problems where each of us brings on is like in a, I'm thinking like a product manager, right? But there's like a backlog of issues that we can, either the circle or anybody from the community can pick them up and start to work on them.
Okay, so what I have now, if you look there on page 6, as I say, for next meeting, list the problems of our own area, rank the problems, focus on the top 2 statements, share our feedback with each other, and look for problem statements to solve together. E.g., join with another member. Is that's what I have down now as the proposal that's evolved. Does that reflect what you're saying, Dor? What, or how would you word it differently?
Yeah, I think it's pretty.
Okay. All right.
Pretty
Let's
good.
go around on that. Victor, can you live with this as a decision? Is this good enough for now?
Yeah, it's good for me.
Okay. And Felix, is this good enough for now? Safe enough to try?
Yep.
Julianne,
Yes.
you okay with this? Okay.
Yes.
Loris, you okay with this?
Yes.
David,
Yeah.
okay. And Dor, I assume you are.
I have one final improvement proposal.
Okay, that's fine.
Which I think I would like to propose that the way we phrase the problem statement, like what I want to avoid is that the problem statements are kind of like formatted in a state that makes it a bit hard to work with or understand, or too ambiguous. And people thought about this. So there's a format that is pretty good. That I don't want to elaborate it right now, but I can propose like a format of like a few rubrics, to fill up in the problem statements to just make it like, what's the current state, what's the desired state, why should we care about this problem, like just a few things that if we fill them up, it would be easier to communicate for people outside, even if they don't have the full context. So
okay, so I added there in parentheses, use format of current state, desired state, why we care about this problem.
I will if you can release like a document or something like that, I can put like the exact phrasing for the rubric.
You should be able to edit it. Everybody has editing rights.
Where is that? Okay, cool. Okay, I'll add that. This is like the same. It's like the same format we used for the problem sensing challenge in Catalyst. It was like a product of like an MIT research about like problem statements. So trust me, it's gonna be good.
Okay. So you'll put a link on this that gives the format.
I'll copy paste like the specific rubrics for the problem statement that needs to be filled, and it will help you, each one of you, when you come back to your team, to help like crystallize the problem.
Okay, so I have here that you will give a rubric. Okay, all right. Everybody else okay with that? Anybody not okay with it? Okay, so we have
John, we have a hand up from Felix.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
Because it's not about this topic, but before in the earlier statement you mentioned, okay, that there is somebody who takes the lead of all the communication of the groups. I'm extremely against.
And we don't have that in here.
Yes, just because you said, okay, you're gonna make sure you're gonna take this role, and for me it just felt very strange that when we say, okay, there is somebody in this circle taking some role of a lead or somewhat, it's just that I don't want to report my actions to somebody and say and be stated by this person if I made a good job or not.
No, it was more of a suggestion as a coordinator and a supporter, and there was no support for it, so I dropped it.
Ah, okay, good, okay.
Yep. So what we have here,
just want to say that this just gave me a really weird feeling.
It's the process is dropping ideas, and if they don't go, then you don't do anything with them. So it's gone. It's nowhere in this decision. Does that make you feel better? Okay. All right, let's close the meeting. And I'd like to go around and get verbal summary. If you would be willing also to click in this thing at the bottom here, I'll go into screen share very quickly. So here I am in the, hello, okay, there we go. If you click on that, it opens into a little form, a Google form. And I have to go in and actually activate this thing. So Pete, would you lead around while I get this form open, please?
Sure, be happy to. All right, so just going around to my screen as it's listed out. So Victor, would you like to start us off? How did this session go for you?
I think the agenda was too big for an hour and a half, and we set high expectations for our first meeting where we did not understand how this would work. I saw some hands raised for longer than they should, and I think also that we need to think that information needs to go from the circle to the groups and then back and then discussed and then go back to groups. So we always need to have that in mind. And this takes time. It's difficult to make a whole process in a single meeting.
And
I think it was good.
Thank you. That form is now open if you click on it. And I wanted to have both the verbal as well as the form responses.
All right, next up on my screen is Felix.
Totally agree with Victor. Because I think for me, the most exciting part in all this is to really bring everything what happens here to the community and to enable them, to make them a living and interactive part of everything. And to give them also the possibility to take initiative and responsibility and to show that they are able to do more than just proposals, even to really, governance century started and there we go. But totally agree with Victor, this needs to evolve step by step. And I think I was totally agree, for example, in the very first meeting like this, I expect more than just a catch up. Hey guys, who you are? What are we doing here? Where do you come from? But throwing already an agenda like this, it's dangerous because then you kill it since in the beginning already.
All right, thank you. Julianne, you're up next.
And Peter, are you taking notes on these?
No, I am not.
Okay, if you could take a moment to do a quick summary. Let's go on to Julianne and I'll lead the round from here.
Yeah, I think like good things need a little bit of time. So what I wish is just to come together as people and talk to each other and really have like enthusiastic conversations around the topics, because I think the interesting part is coming when really these different angles of the community come together and really try to solve it together. So yeah, that's what I wish for, and I think we're going to be there.
Thanks. I'll go next. I am satisfied that we have come together, and I'm really thankful that we had the extra amount of time to do that. I will ask Pete to help in the next meeting, make me aware of where people have their hands raised. I just wasn't picking it up. Let's go to Loris next, please.
Okay, so it was quite interesting. And I agree that we can't, put all hot potatoes in one dish and start, picking something and solving before even, we have, learned something about each other and, and establish ourselves as a group And also I thought it will be a little bit more discussing about, about Catalyst Circle, how we're gonna work, how we're gonna do. So what are the next, also for the Catalyst Circle itself, what kind of are the goals, how we want to represent it, do we want to create awareness about it, how we gonna, do better thing for next voting, and, maybe some kind of those things as well. So because there are a lot of questions from SPOs. Okay, so what's the Catalyst Circle? It's just guys, came together, guys and girls, excuse me. So came together and basically, discuss something. What's the power for this group? Does it make sense for them, to put some kind of information or their worries, whatever, because I don't know, what the Catalyst Circle does. So maybe that kind of information. But I think we are moving towards the right direction. And as always, I would prefer that there are more discussions, less like individual work filling up forms, because it's important, of course. I agree, because there should be some kind of clear picture. But I think the discussion type of when we solve some kind of issue and discussing about the issues, maybe there's some kind of good ideas which are coming out. Usually they are. And some insights from other groups. Okay, we have this kind of issue, how to solve this. I know that is slower, but also we have to start somewhere, start slowly, I think, and to understand what we can do and how we can do and how it works.
Thank you.
Okay, my internet is getting unstable.
Yeah. Thank you, David, okay. Dor, and then Pete.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add of value beyond what's been said already, but looking forward to the next steps.
Thank you, Dor.
Well, I take responsibility from trying to push a lot in the agenda of the first week. I really wanted us. It was really important for me. It's just a 3-month thing. We only have 6 meetings together, and I really wanted us to hit the ground running. Maybe it was a bit too much, but regardless, I'm still gonna push us all the time. Okay, to be concrete, to do things, to build things, to bring out outcomes, and have that. And I can't wait. I think for next week's to just for our next meeting in 2 weeks, to just working together on either working together directly on problems and deepening our connection through this work, and also at the same time kind of like poking and provoking the community to take action, okay, to stand on their own 2 feet and address these problems, as I think everybody here resonated with, and I think so. I think there is a shared understanding between us that was formed pretty quickly, so I'm pretty happy about this meeting.
And Pete, and I'll take notes for you.
All right. Actually, I'll just pass. I've got too much in typing. I can't think right now.
Great. Then that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you in a little over 2 weeks.
Quick question. So regarding the communication channel, so Telegram is the main channel for us?
Yes, that Telegram group is the channel that's been set up. We can certainly change it, but I've found it convenient so far.
Okay, I just wondered because it was quite slow there.
Okay, Felix?
I have a question about the recording of this session.
Mm-hmm.
Is it public? When and where will it be announced and published? How transparent can we be with everything in this Catalyst Circle?
I see no problem with publishing it. Dor, what about you?
I think that's what we said we're gonna do. It's not even that was agreed in. That was like the basic in the definition of the circle, is that everything we do is accessible. I think that what I propose is that after the meeting, John sends the sends like Danny the video, it will upload it to through IOHK's account, so everybody can see us fumbling around, trying to figure things out together and realizing we're all human, and then and that would be great.
Loris, you originated that group, didn't you? Who originated the Telegram group?
Oh, no, not me.
This
Was
was
it Daniel?
Yeah, this is Daniel.
Okay, I'll get to Daniel. All right, good. Mhm. All right. Anything else?
Let's get ready for the new memes after the video will be uploaded.
Okay, it'll take a few hours for it to process. I'll get it out as soon as I can,
Okay.
and
Thank you.
I'll put it on the Telegram group.
Cool. Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.